What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about the best fighter and most fun fighter to watch in each respective division. As we all know, there are so many different UFC divisions. There's 8 men's divisions and 3 women's divisions, but I'm just going to be focusing on the men's divisions today. Truly, I look inside the UFC, and there is so many fun fighters, no matter the weight class. You got the more skilled fighters in the smaller weight classes, 125, 135, 145, and the guys who have absolutely crushing knockout power in the middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight divisions as well. They're all amazing for different reasons, so I want to go through these respective divisions and kind of talk about why I believe there is one fighter that stands out from the rest in the entertainment department. But if you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC episodes. And if you guys are down there, please turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified about future UFC content releasing every single day. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video talking about the most excited fighter in each UFC men's division. Starting in the flyweight division, my most exciting fighter is Brandon Raw Dog Royval. Brandon Royval is so good in the striking category. Yes, he's also a pretty good jiu-jitsu artist, but he is so wild. I don't know if you've ever seen that Kai Kara-France fight. He got absolutely rocked, I believe, with a right overhand against Kai. But then as he got dropped, he hit him with a spinning back elbow that absolutely dropped Kai, and he ultimately I got a guillotine submission. Also his fight with Matthias Nicolau got the knee right up the middle to end up knocking him out, getting him that title shot with Pantoja. Brandon Royval is such a crazy striker and kind of having that crazy thing to where Brandon doesn't even know what he's doing. And since I'm a friend of Brandon Royval, I've talked with him about this. You know, he has such a good style in every little thing, and he is confident in every little thing he does inside the organization. So just to kind of go out there and see him perform, see him do all these different type of techniques while also risking everything and putting it all on the line for this one moment in this one fight is absolutely insane to see. Brandon Royval is 100% no shot anyone else could beat him inside the UFC flyweight division as the most entertaining fighter. Bantamweight division. Who is the most exciting fighter right now? And I got it between a couple people, but I'm ultimately going to settle on Petr Yan. You know, Petr Yan has had 2 absolutely classics back-to-back. Deiveson Figueiredo in Macau. That was a great fight to really be had. That happened, I think, on November 23rd. But then also the fight with Song Yadong at UFC Miami. That was a great fight to open up that main card. Petr Yan has some of the most exciting fights in the UFC. The way he goes in there, an absolutely technical brawler and a striker in that category, just knows how to go in there and finish fights. He's also a great wrestler, even though he doesn't put it on his display. He might be a slow starter, but especially in that Song fight and that Deiveson Figueiredo fight, he picked it on in those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and 5th in the Figueiredo ones. But truly, Petr Yan is one of the most exciting fighters inside the organization. He has so many different techniques and styles that he goes and throws out there at his opponent that really they don't know what to do when it comes back in their direction. But truly, Petr Yan is the most excited fighter in the bantamweight division. I know you got other guys like Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen, and whatnot, but I think Petr Yan stands out over all of them. Going to featherweight, easily the most exciting fighter at featherweight, whether you like to admit it or not, is Ilia El Matador Topuria. Ilia Topuria is an absolute crazy, well-rounded fighter. You look at his grappling game, look at his striking game. He is an absolute unit in all different categories. Now, him on the ground is amazing as well. You don't see it as much. He took down Max Holloway in that first round. He also ragdolled Bryce Mitchell around, is an amazing guy in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Greco-Roman wrestling. But the place where he makes his bread and butter and his money is in the striking category. Ilia Topuria knocks out pretty much every opponent he faces. Ilia Topuria could not knock out Josh Emmett, but ultimately went in there and had a scorecard that was 50-42, which is crazy. But also, Ilia Topuria knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, the first person to ever knock down Max Holloway, but also knock out Holloway. First person to ever do that. Ilia Topuria is one of the most exciting, dynamic strikers the UFC has ever seen. He's such an amazing technical pocket boxer, to where I go out there and I say that there is no one I have ever seen who is better, more technical, in just that style to go out there and absolutely rip you to shreds in the boxing department. Ilia Topuria is an absolutely masterful fighter inside the UFC. I love watching his technical ability, whether it's on the ground or in the stand-up, but genuinely Ilia Topuria is the best, most entertaining featherweight right now. Going on to the UFC lightweight division, it's very close, but for me, you got guys like Justin Gaethje, Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier, Rafael Fiziev. It's so hard. But my man Charles do Bronx Oliveira stands out in front of everyone else. You know, it's so hard for me to judge because I look at this and I say, if you told me that Justin Gaethje was the most exciting lightweight in the world, I would 100% believe you. That has nothing to do with taking away from what Charles Oliveira has. That's just because Justin Gaethje is so exciting. But I think Charles Oliveira is the most exciting lightweight on planet Earth right now. I think that last fight with Michael Chandler was incredible to see Charles Oliveira go in there and grapple. I was absolutely mesmerized by the performance that Charles had. Arman Tsarukyan fight had two really deep submissions in there. One was a Darce and one was a guillotine. Before that, Beneil Dariush knocked him out in the first round. Prior to that, knocked out Justin Gaethje in the first round. Dustin Poirier, third round rear naked choke submission, standing rear naked choke to be exact. Michael Chandler knockout. Tony Ferguson armbar, even though it wasn't finished. That was a crazy sequence. Charles Oliveira is probably the most exciting fighter in the UFC. He goes in there for war, and every single fight that he has, he goes in there to put his body on the line and put his lifestyle and everything that he has on the line for not only himself but his family behind him. Charles Oliveira has a different mentality. He's an absolutely incredible fighter, one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists in the UFC in its history, but also is an improved striker so much, and I genuinely love watching Oliveira fight anytime he steps in the octagon. 100%, it's a very close call. I could 100% see the argument for Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev, Islam Makhachev, but I have Charles Oliveira as the most entertaining lightweight right now. Now, going to the UFC welterweight division, this might be a little bit of bias, but I'm actually not going to say it's Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think Shavkat, kind of his fighting style recently, if you overlook all the knockouts and subs he's had, isn't really that entertaining until he gets to that final category. The Jeff Neal fight was great, but before that, it kind of wasn't that great. Even though he was getting subs and whatnot, I think it was a very interesting thing. I'm actually going to say the most entertaining fighter right now is going to be Jack Della Maddalena, and that's a very close call with Shavkat, even me making these standpoints. I 100% see the argument for Shavkat, but Jack Della has had some really good fights. Came back against Gilbert Burns at that knee knockout at UFC 299 in Miami. Prior to that, kind of had a little bit of a bore fest against Kevin Holland, but knocked out Randy Brown at UFC 284. That was an amazing performance. Jack Della is such a fun fighter inside the organization. He is a great boxer, one of the best boxers inside the UFC. Technically, I could sit there and watch Jack Della fight every single day. He's so intelligent with every little thing he does, and that is absolutely incredible to see, especially since that he is always knows kind of where his home base is on his body, of how he always keeps his hands in the right area, of how he always keeps himself poised and everything in between. Jack Della Maddalena is an absolute monster in every single category, and I love watching him fight. I think Jack Della could get 100% way more entertaining if he improves his grappling game. Not saying it's bad, but if he can improve his grappling game, that would absolutely be amazing for me. But Jack Della Maddalena, one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC and currently my favorite welterweight to watch. Middleweight division, I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis. And I think that there's other fighters that you could say: Khamzat, Whitaker, Israel Adesanya, Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier, Sean Strickland. Those guys, I think. But the way Dricus du Plessis always gives you a war every time he steps in the octagon, it's kind of like when you fight Dricus, whatever plan you had just doesn't go to plan. It just will never go to plan. And it's just going to be an all-out brawl to fight Dricus. That's what it's been in his last three fights. His fight with Israel Adesanya. Adesanya wanted to counterstrike. Absolute brawl. Sean Strickland probably did the best to stick into his game plan, but was an absolute brawl. Robert Whitaker, he couldn't do anything against Dricus, went in there and brawled. I think Dricus is a very incredible talent. The way you look at his goofy striking categories, and yes, he's got a great wrestling game, but it doesn't look for me that it should translate to wins. But every single time Dricus steps in the octagon, he finds a way to win. He is that good. He is that special. And Dricus du Plessis is that type of guy. I cannot wait to watch him further in his UFC career, especially with this fight with Sean Strickland 2 coming up yet again. But Dricus just knows how to win inside the octagon. And I think that style of knowing how to win, of knowing how to throw the kitchen sink at your opponent, and really going in there to just prove of how well-rounded you are as a mixed martial artist, makes you so incredibly fun to watch. And that is why Dricus du Plessis is my favorite middleweight and the most entertaining middleweight to watch right now. UFC light heavyweight division, who else could it be other than Alex Poatan Pereira? Alex Pereira is just the most absolute vicious KO artist inside UFC history. You look at his last 4 fights, KOs in all 4 of them. 2 second-round KOs, those both came against Yuri Prochazka. 1 first-round KO that came against Jamal Hill, and an absolute masterclass striking department in that 4th round against Khalil Roundtree Jr. that ultimately led to him getting knocked out by body shot. Alex Pereira has some of the heaviest hands in UFC history. He is genuinely a one-of-a-kind fighter. I love watching Alex Pereira fight. every single day. He is that good. He is that amazing. And it's just an absolutely incredible fighter to watch. If he had a grappling game, he would easily be the most entertaining fighter to watch in MMA history, considering how good and how well-rounded he would be. But just the fact that he goes out there and puts any opponent to sleep and doesn't speak English and just yells Shama, it makes such a fun show to go watch inside the organization. I love watching Alex Pereira. This man has headlined 3 events this year, and those are some of my most memorable events watching in 2024. I remember watching UFC 303 and that knockout happening. I was like, yep, that 100%, it just needed to happen. UFC 307, Khalil Roundtree Jr. was kind of piecing him up. Alex said, hold myself for a second, going to go and put you to side. And that's what he did right then and there against Roundtree Jr. Alex Pereira is an absolute legend, and he's 100% the most entertaining fighter in the light heavyweight division. Lastly, in the UFC heavyweight division, I'm going to go Tom Aspinall, the most entertaining fighter to watch right now. Tom Aspinall's last 3 fights have come 3 minutes and 20 seconds total. 1 minute and 13 seconds versus Marcin Tybura, 1 minute and 7 seconds against Sergey Pavlovich, and 1 minute flat against Curtis Blades. Tom Aspinall has such a great jiu-jitsu game. He's got such a great striking game. He's got the entire package out there. And for me to call him the most exciting fighter in the heavyweight division is easily the best thing I could do. Looking at other fighters like Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov, John Jones, all these different guys aren't as dynamic as Tom Aspinall and as well-rounded. And when I like to kind of go in there, I love to watch a full, well-rounded mixed martial artist. You look at his finishes against Volkov with that submission, but he's also got knockdowns, like I kind of mentioned before, against Blades, Pavlovich, and Tybura. Tom Aspinall is the full package. Anything you want from him, he's going to go out there and do. He's going to go deliver 10 out of 10 times, no matter what. You just know what you're getting from Tom Aspinall, a guy who's going to go in there and throw everything towards the fan and genuinely go to win and beat any single person in front of him. Tom Aspinall 100% is the best person in the UFC heavyweight division. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about my rankings talking about the best UFC fighter to watch in each respective division. Let's start with Flyweight. That was Brandon Royval. Bantamweight, Peter Yan. Featherweight, Ilia El Matador Topuria. Lightweight, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Welterweight, Jack Della Maddalena. Middleweight, Dricus du Plessis. Light heavyweight, Alex Poatan Pereira. And heavyweight, Tom Aspinall. I look at all these guys and they kind of put themselves out there just because of how good they are in their respective categories. They're all really well-rounded, or they are an absolute knockout artist in their respective category, or even some of both. You know, these guys have their own personality in and outside the octagon and genuinely bring a different vibe to the cage once they all step in there. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications just so you guys can always stay notified about future UFC content releasing every single day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.